crossing of the legs, no crossing of the arms, no letting the belly hang out or anything else, but just take a neutral kind of position, let the reporter establish, and then you take charge.
I guess I was comfortable because
Yeah.
I don't know what the issue is yet. I
No.
mean, I'm assuming I know it's something that, I mean, when a reporter calls, you know what the issue is, so whether you're comfortable
Yeah.
or aggressive or whatever, it depends on what the issue is, wouldn't it be?
It would depend entirely on the issue, but
Like, if we're building a new athletic complex and they want to come talk about the
Sure.
progress, I should be very relaxed.
that's right.
I mean, that's not controversial.
If that's the message you want to give out.
Okay.
But in the initial stage, take a position of neutrality and then take charge of the interview.
So-
You take the
so set
reporter.
So I should sit more like this when you come in.
Right, right, and then you can take, now, if it's an athletic complex, you're serious about that. You really want that to happen and it's going well, then you express that. You lean into the reporter, you know, this project is going so well, man, and it says it entirely differently than if, you know, this project is going real well. It doesn't read the same. So psychologically, you need to think about the position and the structure. You watch nightly news and watch feature interviews versus hard news interviews in the seated position or in the standing position. You'll see different things happening, different messages being sent, and you'll learn what not to do most of the time. But that spatial thing, and I did this in a drill not long ago with a head of human resources for a major company. Defied it. Oh, you can't take charge. I'll take charge. And then big, strapping guy. And I did the same thing. We played the tape back. He could not believe what he was doing, and I was dictating control of the whole interview, just spatially, not even talking about the questions. You know, the questions were another issue.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the idea that I'm getting at about positioning that you have to think about in the message. So you get yourself anchored.
Yep. Got my toes curled.
Okay. If that, whatever makes you comfortable, but the point is, get the energy out of your face so you're not nervous or strained in any way. You don't need to have the veins popping out in your cheeks or anything like that. I'm not going to ask you an athletic question.
Oh, come on. How come she can pick the topics? That's not
I
fair.
was school principal.
Huh? Dan, you can stand up. See what I mean? Now you know why I wanted to sit. I knew it was coming. Oh, God. Who am I? Let's get this over with.
That's the best question I've heard.
This is more on the general line of probably health education. One of the overriding issues in the country today is the whole concept of health education in general. There are issues out there of smoking, around smoking and safe sex and on and on and on. What is your particular approach here in Portsmouth? You're teaching school, right? Your particular approach in school to teaching children not to smoke?
Well, we have probably one of the few community setups where we have a community health program set up in the school. So not only it being a school issue, it's also a community issue. So we're doing a lot of things hand in hand with the community because it's really a community problem, not just a school issue. So we're really handling it with the Clipper Health Center.
So what is the status here in Portsmouth schools? Do you have a sense of the...
We have a smoking
range of
policy.
smoking?
Yeah, we have a smoking policy as far as we follow the state guidelines as far as where you can
What
and
are
can't
they?
smoke. I'm not really familiar with the state guidelines, to tell you the truth. I'm a non-smoker, so you're probably asking me a lot of things about smoking, which I'm
Yeah.
not real comfortable with, but I don't smoke.
Yeah.
But for the students, we follow all the state guidelines for smoking. When
So
you
you
can
actually
smoke.
arrest students if they're...
No, that's not, no, there's not, there is some discipline problems within the school if you're smoking in an area that you're not allowed to smoke. There's procedures they have to follow and penalties, whether it's suspension or after-school detention, depending on the severity or how many offenses you've had.
You aware of the Joe Camel controversy?
Nope.
Joe Camel was an ad campaign characterizing Camel cigarettes as a Camel, a real cool, hip kind of a character. Studies are showing that kids are picking up on smoking as early as 7, 8 years old, and in part because of that ad, or at least in theory. Would you endorse the banning of Joe Camel ads in school complex?
Actually, I think the professional sports are doing a great job of having pro athletes give positive messages to kids. I have some older boys that have been through the negative Camel Lucky Strikes and all the beautiful girls for cigarettes and all that, and I have a 10-year-old now that's gone through the Dyer program and other health awareness programs at the elementary level, and some of the things he is saying, and the best example I can give you was taking him to a Red Sox game and doing the balloting for the All-Stars. I voted for Darryl Strawberry, and the first time a 10-year-old said, "Dad, how can you vote for him? He does drugs." So I think by starting at an early age, which I think the educational process is doing now versus 10, 15 years ago, has been very positive.
Is it enough? I mean, studies I've been looking at indicate that schools aren't.
Is it ever enough? Is it ever enough? I mean, as long as we're taking a proactive step at doing this, we're doing what we think is best for the kids, and
Portsmouth
you have to
schools
judge
doing
that
all they
whether it's
can.
enough. I think Portsmouth's very proactive on issues like that. When computer education became real important, Portsmouth became very proactive and initiated a computer program, has a computer director, has computer classrooms in the elementary schools. I think Portsmouth is very progressive in that area.
Should they be hiring more teachers?
Always. Never enough teachers.
Plan an exit. This is related, but it's
I got about 30 seconds, so I really got to run.
health education. Given the budget constraints, should there be more money spent in the health education area, or is there enough?
I think from going through the budget process that we all have input as far as we think is important in our own programs, and we're able to voice our opinions in group meetings, and that's why the superintendent gets big bucks, and he makes the final decision of the Board of Education, and the process is fair. We all have equal opportunity, and I don't think everybody always gets exactly what they want, but I think for the most part we've all been treated fairly. I really do. Thanks a lot.
Now it's over.
Yeah.
Comments?
I had a cramp on my toe as I was
Comments?
You got him to answer his questions. Although you did a beautiful duck at one point. I can't
I cut him off in the middle of his question because I knew I was going to get stuck.
Joe Camel, he never answered Joe Camel.
Right.
You went right on to
The
Dale
positive
and everything else
things
we
that
were
the school
doing.
system is doing. Yeah, that was a good.
Again.
That was excellent.
And bringing other people into the solution of the problems.
The other thing I did that we had talked, I actually cut one of your questions off.
Yeah.
I knew it was coming. Or at least I anticipated it, and I didn't want to answer it, so I just cut you off.
Yeah, and if I'm a reporter, that's not going to bother you. You can do that.
Yeah.
That's a technique you can consider if you know the answer, but be careful. Because the question may be headed in a direction, and then all of a sudden you've changed the course of the interview. If you change it to where you want to go, fine.
Okay.
It's a way of blanketing, if you will.
Plus, he got you to say that we always need more teachers, so that then he could go and say, Dan O'Connell, says that Portsmouth needs more teachers.
Right.
Totally out of context,
Right.
but, you know.
That's an example of how I could have quote unquote misquoted you without your intending it.
But I don't think, for me to say we needed more teachers, I think is real good to say. I don't think that's negative. So what's wrong with that?
It could the school board could backlash on you. Well, who are you to say?
It's the kind of
Teachers
thing.
And then, again, guess what I'm saying is, no matter what you say, I mean, I could also say that we don't need, skirt around it, but then the teachers would say, gee, you never defended us.
Yeah.
So
How could you say the same thing with a more direct meaning? In other words, he said we always need more teachers. Is that true?
That was just a cover-up. I just threw that out and went something else. I didn't.
I mean, what you probably really meant there is that whether or not you need more teachers is always a matter of study, and it's need-driven, based on research.
Well, the core of any educational system is at its teaching core, and that's the primary emphasis.
Right.
Whoa,
Yeah.
I'm getting ready.
So there are ways of saying the same thing. I mean, you're still saying we need teachers, but it can't be misconstrued as generally. That's the
Yeah.
point.
The other question I had is, I can't talk without moving my hands.
Yeah.
Is that good? Or, I mean, are you better off standing there, toes curled, centered, and like, fighting it under control?
There's nothing wrong with gestures as long as you're not in your face.
Yeah.
All of a sudden that becomes a distraction, and what you risk is people really hearing you.
Yeah, I know when you see all this going, they're going, geez, you know,
No,
I
these
just,
were very natural.
was it natural?
Yes.
That came, the only thing that I would say other than that is you tend to be rapid fire when you're speaking. You need to take it a little slower than that, a little more slowly, because that will help you to make your points more succinctly. Cutting me off didn't bother me, but the rapid fire response is going to only hurt you on that end.
Yeah, I think along that, sometimes too, it gives the perception of a very aggressive edge
Right.
on issues that really are not aggressive in nature,
Mhm.
which sets up a mindset as far as personality.
Yeah.
is
Even in
concerned.
anxiety.
That's exactly what it is anxiety.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That it is.
But you always talk fast.
I do, I
Yeah.
know. It's a family of 9, I had to. You had to get it in.
That's true. Well, what you can work on as part of your drill is just that. What I do to avoid speaking quickly is to think about every word I'm saying as I'm saying it. And then it slows me down. I also, interestingly enough, tend to be a lot more accurate in what I want to say. So you're thinking about it as you're saying it. It won't appear stilted. It'll never appear stilted because they don't know what you normally are like. Okay, but you could take it, calm people down. And you're right, because that whole issue about health and children smoking is on people's minds. And if you seem anxious about it, even though you were saying, oh, we've got this under control, we're studying it, what they're reading is, it's like you can turn off the volume and watch people's bodies on the news, and that's the perception people are getting subconsciously. What they're saying often isn't even heard because of that.
That's why I asked you about the hands.
Yeah. That part's not too bad, although again,
Yeah.
calm down. Center yourself and think about what you're going to say, and that'll calm down too. Yeah.
Would it have been appropriate at the Joe Camel question, which is where he started to say he wasn't familiar with it at all, just to let it go with that, say, I really don't know the ad at all, I've never seen it, and I really can't comment on it.
Yeah, but see, I was afraid, the reason why I went to something else was I was afraid he was going to tell me what it was.
That was a
Since
blank.
I didn't have a clue,
Yeah.
I decided to go to something else.
Yeah, I
That's
just
exactly
curious.
that was my thought process at the time. I don't have a clue, and I don't want to know, so let's get into something else, and that's what I did.
O'Connell admits it.
So what you're talking about,
Headlines, O'Connell clueless.
Again.
see, what
No clue.
your technique in that case is a blanket. You kill it. I don't know anything about the ad. I can't, or the study. Can't speak to it. That ends the speculation. What he did was more of the bridge or the duck to get what he wanted to talk about, responsive action at the school about smoking.
Yeah, I think he gave a good answer. I was just curious if there was another way to go, because I
Yep.
felt that's where he was.
Yep.
And at that moment, he made a decision to go
I just-
into it,
Yep.
rather than just totally stop it.
It's risky. I mean, but if you've got a message, if you've thought about health issues in general, you know I was going to talk to you about health. Smoking is likely to be one of them. What do you want to make for a statement for the school direction that shows responsiveness to the community, the concerns about smoking? That's a choice you can make deliberately if you plan it in advance. Part of your whole strategic planning is you look at the whole year. You look at issues like this, and what are the messages you want to get out to the community? You come back to those messages as much as possible. And it's like the whole idea of a mission statement. You ask most people in any corporation in this country what the mission statement of their organization is, and most of them can't tell you. And there's a problem here. And I think you find it's repeated in many, many ways through non-profit organizations and organizations in general. You get to the point where you verbalize your mission and your goals and objectives and really do that. You'll find all of these opportunities to state your goals and objectives in a year. Bring a bridge and blanket and get right to those points. Who's next?
Nate's next. You're gonna get Peter for the height joke, but that's all Pat. I was making a height joke to him, I'm taller than he is.
Same reason Suzanne didn't pick me.
Yeah.
Keep it up there, yeah?
I'm not making a lot of
I'm
points.
smart enough not to say
Now that you're relaxed.
All set?
it. All set.
Well, you're the athletic director of the school. Certainly a lot of controversy around athletics in general, always will be. looking at Portsmouth